What up, y'all? It's your boy Pink, and I went to go see the movie Obsession. This was part of a double feature that I did with my family where we went to go see He-Man, and then I thought, why not go see Obsession? People are obsessed with it. I also wanted to see it because a lot of people that I follow on YouTube were talking about it, and I was like, let me go see what the whole hubbub is about. This movie made me so fucking uncomfortable throughout the entirety of it. This movie starts out with our main character, Aaron, but he's known as Bear. Don't know why, but we're gonna refer to him as Bear the entire time. He's practicing what he wants to say to a girl he likes by basically spilling his heart out. Bear is trying to confess his feelings to his friend Nikki, who he has developed feelings over however long they've known each other. And this girl that he's talking to ends up being his waitress. The waitress loves it and thinks it's really cute, but Ian says that his confession is really cringe, and he tries to give Bear some advice, but he's basically telling him to neg her, and also says that he should mention Freaky Nikki. Bear wants to invite Nikki out for drinks, but they're always out doing trivia nights, and Ian can't not go to trivia nights. It's all he has, and he suggests that Bear should just wait for the right time to ask her out properly. Then we just cut to a dead cat in Bear's home, and it turns out that his cat sadly passed away by ODing off of his sleeping pills, also known as oxycodone. And I know we're supposed to be grieving a cat right now, but this cat was greedy, bruh. In the scene where we see the cat's corpse, we see that the cat spilled over its dry food. There's a couple of cans out there, so we just had a feast before it went out. We cut to Bear spending a lot of his night cleaning up the apartment and throwing out the cat in a garbage bag. Bear spends some time grieving, and after some Instagram stalking, Nikki calls him to see if he's gonna come out to trivia night, and he tries to cancel but gets talked into coming along. Nikki says that she has something to tell him, but she drops her crystal necklace down the drain. I found this funny when I first watched it because I deadass thought she said I dropped my crystal meth in the toilet. On my rewatch, I heard her say necklace. Initially, I thought Bear was going after like a drug addict. I mean, she kind of is. We'll find out later. Before Bear goes to the bar where they're at, he goes to one of those, I don't know what to call this, like a spirituality store. He goes to where they sell crystals and stuff, and he tries to buy a necklace, but he sees a one-wish willow spark the middle and break in half. And I found it funny during my second watch. I noticed that the logo for this one-wish willow is a fucking cat from the company Tabby Cat. It was also like a really creepy looking cat clock phone thing that Bear had in his apartment. A lot of weird cat related things in this movie. As Bear's trying to buy the one wish willow, the woman at the register kind of lazily warns him people have bought the one wish willow and come back to complain because foreshadowing. I wrote a quote where it kind of blends what Bear and the woman were saying, where it does work and it ruins their lives, or they die or wish that they were dead. Bear goes to the bar to hang out with his friends Nikki, Sarah, and Ian, where they're complaining about work, and Sarah mentions that she's trying to get into art school. Nikki decides that they need some shots, so she goes, and Bear goes along with. Nikki orders 4 tequila shots, and Bear tries to order a pina colada, and Nikki teases him about the drink. Bear is trying to shoot his shot, but can't get a word out. He keeps getting interrupted by the bartender asking about the tab, and eventually Ian forces his way into the conversation, and Sarah joins as well. And so they all drink at the bar. Ian and Nikki go back to their table, while Sarah asks about Sandy. Sarah consoles him. When they leave the bar, Ian wants to go to karaoke, but Nikki doesn't want to go. Bear offers to drive her home, and Nikki borrows $20 from Sarah to buy, I think, heroin off a homeless guy for some reason. In my head, I'm just like, man, really picked a winner here, Bear. During the car ride, Nikki tries to console Bear about Sandy, and they discuss how Sandy's going to quit her job where they all work, as we find out later, because she's working on a story and she's not feeling love, because she's writing a love story, not a romance, even though Bear thinks that it's the same thing. After the awkward drive home, it gets even more awkward because Nikki asks Bear about how he feels about Sarah, and we kind of figure that Sarah already likes Bear. Bear then tries to ask her out, but fumbles really hard, like he's making excuses about classes, brings up the Freaky Nikki thing, which upsets her, of course, and Nikki just straight up asks, do you like me? And for whatever reason, Bear says no and friend zones himself, but then immediately regrets it, being like, bro, what the fuck? Ugh. So he takes out the one wish willow, and we hear a jingle. After that, he makes his wish, I wish Nikki Freeman loved me more than anyone in the fucking world, and breaks the willow. We then see Nikki is still outside as a silhouette on her front porch. She comes into the light and asks for the thing that Bear said that he was going to give her. He said that he was going to give it to her when they meet next, and Nikki invites him inside. And she starts talking really fucking weird where it feels really off-putting, but Nikki snaps back and says that she's being weird, but then gets into the car and says that she wants to go to Bear's place. Nikki starts saying that she can't be alone and that her dad is dying, and she starts breaking down crying. We cut to Bear's humble abode. He says that this was his grandma's place, and this movie has a really nice use of shadows because that becomes really important later on, as we're kind of seeing now. Bear lets Nikki use the bed and she invites him to sleep with her, and they start getting close. She leans in for a kiss and they kind of make out for a bit until Nikki jump scares back into herself as she falls off the bed and then apologizes profusely. She starts breaking down, and then we cut to him waking up while he was sleeping on the floor. He wakes up to look up on the Not Google about the One Wish Willow. He kind of finds a fake version of Reddit with mixed reviews, and then he comes back into the room with Nikki's silhouette again, asking what he's doing, and then she asks for them to sleep together again. We cut to Bear waking up and she's gone, but she made a memorial for Sandy by digging her out of the garbage. Then they just go to work after Bear says, "This isn't cool, man." And I saw this throughout my first watch of the movie when Ian and Bear talk about what happened the night before, because Ian thinks that he actually slept with Nikki. You can see Nikki staring at them the entire time. Even when the camera starts focusing on Bear and Ian more, you can still see her blurry, just staring at Bear. Ian and Bear talk about how Nikki might be going through something. Ian thinks it's weird because Nikki doesn't care about her dad, so why would she care if her dad has cancer? Concludes that she was probably on Molly. Bear even says it was terrifying, it was psychotic, yet continues. We see Bear clock in and go back to the register, and Nikki is still staring even after she moved to another spot, like she is literally obsessed with Bear. We cut to Bear using what I guess is supposed to be a fake AI to look up the side effects of Molly. Ian calls Bear to let him know that Nikki's okay, until Bear hangs up on him because he wants to call Nikki, but he gets a knock at the door, and it's Nikki in the shadows, apologizing for what happened the night before, saying that she was on MDMA and that she was wasted. I don't do drugs, so I don't know what the fuck MDMA was, and I looked it up. Methylene dioxymethamphetamine, which is a synthetic proactive drug that acts as both a stimulant and a mild hallucinogen, also known as ecstasy or Molly. They have a really awkward interaction until Nikki says that she likes Bear.
They start fucking, it was gross.
After the hanky panky, they start going out and spending a lot of time with each other, and it's really cute. Whatever. We cut to a restaurant dinner, and Bear asks about her dad. Ian tries calling Bear, but Bear ignores it. They have a cutesy combo about Bear being a food critic. Ian calls again, and Bear takes the call, and he says that Nikki's dad is healthy, and then proceeds to tell him about a convo that him, Nikki, and Sarah had, where she basically friend-zoned him and called him a little brother. It's like she snapped into a different person. You don't say. And during this conversation, we see that Nikki in the background creepily walks into frame, and then Bear, uncomfortable, goes back to the table, and Nikki says that she got him a gift. It's a tiger's eye. That was her mom's, that then became hers, and then she wants to give it to Bear because it's going to give him willpower and confidence. And she said that she wants to give him this tiger's eye because she loves him so much. Bear confronts Nikki about her dad's cancer, and Nikki freaks out by screaming, and then they cut to them fucking again.
It was gross.
And then we see Bear waking up at 3:45 in the morning, and Nikki is gone, until we see that she's in the corner watching this guy sleep, and she moves really creepy like throughout this entire scene. But Nikki says that she doesn't like her dreams and freaks out again, starts crying and tells Bear to go back to sleep, but how the fuck could you? Then she starts screaming again and settles into the room with a vase covering her face. Bars, and says that the flowers are for Sandy. She gets under the covers, and Bear tries to turn around until she screams for him to stay. We cut to Bear waking up in the morning and realizes that some of his hair is missing because Nikki decided to cut some out for herself. He confronts her about it, and she gets a little sad about it but gives him a packed lunch, and Bear tells her that she's freaking him out, but it's because she had a bad dream, until she suddenly stops talking like she came back to normal for a second, but then goes into a really creepy smile. Bear makes her promise to not do any more weird shit, until Bear turns around and realizes that his door was duct taped shut. It's supposed to be Nikki's day off from work, And she's like, maybe I can pop by. Like, no. And as Bear is struggling to open the door, if you're having trouble with the door, maybe you can just stay home. Bitch, shut the fuck up. Bear eventually gets the door open, and we see that she's doing a really creepy smile again. She sees him off, and this scene lingers on for a good minute until the camera pans down to where her legs are, and we see that she's pissing herself. We then cut to Bear at work on his break, where he opens up his lunchbox, and we see that he has a sandwich and an apple with 2 photos in the lunchbox with "you" and "not me" written on them, as well as a note that says "my little food critic." This movie is giving us as the viewers lots of hints that this is not Nikki, but for whatever reason Bear can't take the hint. Sarah is there at work as well, and she asks if Bear is going to Ian's party. Bear didn't know about this party going on, but he mentions the convo that Ian told him about. Why? That would just cause awkward problems, bro. Sarah says that they had that conversation a long time ago, and she doesn't know what game Nikki is playing, but she doesn't want Bear to get hurt. Her dad comes over to give her a letter from one of the colleges she applied to. She got denied from whatever school. She's upset. She leans on Bear, but she swipes his lunchbox and then sees a note that says, "What's the verdict? Cat?" She cooked the cat. Nikki cooked the fucking cat that she dug out of the garbage. Bear realizes this and rightfully throws up. You would think that all this weird shit that's going on, Bear would think, she's being really fucking weird. But he's been excusing her behavior every time. Like, he keeps saying to her that, no, this is okay. Stop being weird. This is okay. And then makes the excuse that this is an inside joke. How would an inside joke make you puke, bro? But we cut to the shift finishing up, and Ian asks for a ride. Ian confronts Bear about this relationship. Bear tries to change the subject by bringing up the party that Ian didn't invite them to because it's gonna look weird, which understandable because Nikki's potentially going through some really traumatic stuff, and it can come off that Bear is taking advantage of the situation so he can get his dick wet. Eventually Ian tells Bear that he can come, but not with Nikki because it's gonna be a boys' night. He'll tell Sarah to fuck off because if this relationship isn't based on codependency, then Nikki should be fine. Bear tries to get himself ready to confront Nikki about the cat sandwich and that he's going to the party, but as he gets out the car, we hear the jingle from the One Wish Willow. He sees on the box that there's a number and decides to call it. This is at night, and normally customer service closes at, depending on the place, 5 or 8. I'm gonna assume this is past 8 o'clock, and normally you would get a prompt like, oh, call us during our business hours, but some guy just picks up. Bear asks if he can alter, then eventually cancel the wish, but he finds out he can't do either. We hear the guy on the phone say, as long as you live, or if you die, your wish will go away. And then the guy on the phone asks if he wants to speak with Nikki specifically, which gives us a few answers as to what's going on. Bear goes into his home and sees that Nikki is literally covered in piss and shit. She goes into the shower, and Bear tries to confront her while she's in the shower while he's outside of the bathroom. He mentions the boys' night, and she freaks out again by turning off the shower and screaming and banging in the bathroom. And then we just cut to them at the party because he felt guilty. At the party, they're doing a version of Jenga that has some dares written on the blocks. There's a guy there that switches seats with Bear. Nikki starts showing signs like, no, don't go. And someone goes, hey, what kind of spell did you put on her? And there's a very awkward silence after Nikki laughs for too long and says that it's so true. Nikki then gets a dare. We don't know what it specifically is, but she gets up and reads an incestuous version of Hansel and Gretel, where she even mentions this is a love only the branch of a willow tree could conjure. She says that it's from a new book that she's writing on, but there's still an awkward silence at the party. Bear then gets a dare to kiss the person to his left, which is Sarah. Nikki does this cartoon-like frown, which made me laugh at first until the party goes dead quiet, and then Nikki drags Sarah's chair away so that she could be to Bear's left. Nikki mentions that everyone in this room will die not knowing what it's like to be with Bear, and gets awkwardly quiet until someone breaks the silence by offering jello shots. Nikki snaps back to her normal self and screams, "It's not me!" and then breaks, I think, a glass cup and starts stabbing herself in the face. Aside from it being a jump scare, I was scared that there was going to be some eye gore because, as I've mentioned in some videos, I do not like fucking eye gore, even though this is my first horror movie review. Everyone, of course, freaks out and wants Bear to take her to a hospital, and Bear does so, but for some reason gets denied. We don't really hear the conversation at the hospital, but Bear goes back home to his place, and he snaps at Nikki for not being normal. But but then apologizes for snapping at her. Nikki says that she's his freaky Nikki with a creepy smile. And Bear kinda realizes that this can't work and he wants Nikki to be Nikki, but she says that she can't and screams again. Bear realizes now that the love isn't real. And then she moves super freaky like into the shadows and says that she'll never hurt him and keeps moving in such a creepy ass way. It's really effective. Bear tells Nikki that she can have the bed for the night and he'll go sleep at Ian's. Nikki goes into the kitchen, grabs a knife, and basically threatens to kill herself if he leaves. We cut to them sleeping in bed when Bear gets a text on his phone. It's Sarah telling him to come meet her because she has some important things to tell him. Bear tries to see if Nikki is awake, but she's completely asleep. Sarah through text says that she'll come to him if he doesn't come, after saying he can't go. Bear manages to sneak out of the bed where we hear Nikki quietly says that Bear should kill her. Nikki also mentions, please don't wake her up. Bear asks the real Nikki, what's so bad about being with me? And she responds with, I've never been with you, Bear. This confirms that whatever is possessing Nikki is either some kind of entity, a demon, or whatever the fuck that's obsessed with Bear. Bear goes to meet up with Sarah in her car, and she confronts him about the relationship, eventually showing him the letter that she got from Luther. Sarah confesses to Bear that Ian and Nikki have been hooking up on and off for the past 2 years, and she thinks that Ian doesn't deserve this kind of relationship, that she needs someone more chill. Nikki then comes in, breaks the car window with a brick, and then bashes Sarah's face against it for way too long. During my second watch of this movie, I had to not watch this scene. I already saw it once, and it was brutal, especially because of the eye that hangs out from Sarah's face. Like I said, I don't like eye gore. Like, I'm fine with everything else. Like I'll wince and stuff, but when it comes to eyes, I don't like it. Nikki apologizes but tells him that he needs to help her get rid of the body. She says this is your fault. Sarah, it's your fault. You wished for this. And Nikki tells Bear that she can handle the rest and that he can go home. Bear, for whatever reason, keeps the letter with Sarah's blood all over it and opens it and sees that she got accepted into Luther. He finally breaks down in his car, storms into that spirituality store, still covered in Sarah's blood, to look for another One Wish Willow. He freaks out that he can't find them. Bear ends up telling the guy that she's obsessed with him, and the guy goes, that's not too bad, to the guy that stormed into your store crazy, like covered in blood, by the way. But if maybe someone else makes a wish that contradicts his, maybe it'll cancel it out. Or Bear could just die. There's also that. Bear tries to wish for Nikki Freeman to only love him as a friend, but he can't break the One Wish Willow no matter how hard he tries because, as the box says,
everybody gets one.
So he goes over to Ian's place. Bear finally explains everything and tries to get Ian to make a wish for him, but of course Ian doesn't believe, to the point where Ian just breaks the One Wish Willow saying, I wish for $1 billion, wasting it for Bear. Money raining down from the ceiling, and Bear realizes that he's fucked. He goes back home and sees that Nikki made a shrine, but she emerges from the shadows super creepy, like bravo to the people that made this movie. And Bear takes out one last One Wish Willow. He sees that Nikki stripped Sarah's body and plopped her corpse onto a chair in the living room. Nikki starts screaming about why Bear won't just love her and bashes her face with, I think, a gun. And then Ian, for whatever reason, comes to Bear's place like, dude, I just won $1 billion, like it's real. We know, we saw that. Nikki is screaming, threatening to shoot herself with the gun. Ian somehow gets the door open, tries to call out to Nikki but gets shot, so he's just dead. And this is a maybe reference to The Exorcist because she threatens to kill herself again and also to put the gun where the sun don't shine, and then pukes what looks like bile on Bear. It also seems that Nikki either tattooed herself or she just scribbled on herself with marker all over her body, even imitating the tattoo that Sarah had. And then she goes on about them being together forever, but she suspects that Bear shakes his head no. Bear makes an excuse to go to the bathroom and he locks himself in as Nikki is trying to break down the door. Bear takes out that tiger's eye to brace himself to shoot himself with the gun that he took away from Nikki. While outside, Nikki says that they should break up. Bear is too scared to go through with the gun, so he sees his next best option, ODing on the sleeping pills. As he swallows the rest of the bottle, we hear the One Wish Willow jingle and a snap. Bear leaves the bathroom all happily and goes back to Nikki, where they kiss until Bear collapses, succumbing to his pills. Nikki cries cries and breaks down and puts the gun in her mouth until the real Nikki comes back, which was kind of funny because she just pushes Bear's now corpse out the way. Understandably, starts freaking the fuck out now that all her friends are dead. There's a slow pan until we see the CRT TV upside down, thus ending the movie. There's no post-credit scene or anything. What I found interesting, while we have this whole final scene in Bear's house, on the CRT TV, it looks like Nikki filmed Bear asleep. Now, you can see how this movie made me so fucking uncomfortable throughout. I've been solo dolo for 3 years plus, and I'm gonna stay that way. But I do want to say, this movie was great. Made me super uncomfortable, scared me when it needed to, and it was brutal when it had to be. But shout out to the actress for Nikki, Indy Navarrete, because holy shit, she sells the crazy girl roles so well. And shout out to Bear's actor, Michael Johnston, as well. He's great in this movie too. Those are my thoughts on the movie. I really enjoyed it. If you haven't seen it, please go watch it. I would like to know what you think if you've seen it. And with that, I've been Pink, and I will see y'all whenever.